Welcome back to another episode of Teaching Today, the podcast where we explore all things education. I'm Aaliyah. And I'm Aaliyah. Today we're diving into the world of constructivism. It's one of those educational philosophies that seems like it's everywhere, but not everyone fully understands what it means. So let's break it down piece by piece. Yes, so Aaliyah, let's start simple. What exactly is constructivism? Alright, so constructivism is an educational philosophy that says learning is best when students actively construct their own understanding of the world, rather than just receiving knowledge from the teacher. Think of it like building a house. Instead of just handing someone a blueprint, you let them gather the materials, make decisions, and put the pieces together themselves. That's a great example. It's like learning isn't just about memorizing facts. The idea is that learning happens when students engage, question, and make sense of new ideas in ways that are meaningful to them. Right. And it's grounded in the idea that people learn through experience. This was largely influenced by a few major theorists like Jean Piaget and Lev Vygotsky. Piaget's theory, for example, emphasized how kids actively construct knowledge based on their experiences. Vygotsky, on the other hand, focused a lot on social learning, how we learn through interactions with others, like how kids use language to make sense of things. Ooh, so it's more about the process than the end result, right? Exactly. In a constructivist classroom, students are the ones exploring, asking questions, and figuring things out for themselves. The teacher's role is more of a guide, helping students along the way with tools like scaffolding, which is just a fancy word for providing the right support at the right time. Scaffolding. I love that idea. So the teacher is helping students take small steps toward independent learning. Yes, and the students are involved in authentic tasks, which are real-world problems that have meaning to them. So instead of learning about ideas that they can't connect with, they're working on things that actually relate to their lives or future careers. Right, and don't forget about cooperative learning, where students work together to solve problems. It's a whole community of learning, which is pretty different from the traditional classroom, where it's usually one teacher in front of the room and students listening quietly. Speaking of which, let's compare this with the traditional classroom model. Traditional teaching is usually about direct instruction. The teacher tells the students what they need to know, and the students memorize or take notes. There is a clear power dynamic, teachers as the expert and students as the receivers of knowledge. So basically, it's top-down learning. The teacher is at the top, deciding the content, and the students are supposed to absorb it. In constructivism, though, it's more bottom-up. The students are doing the work of making sense of the content. Exactly. Now let's talk about some actual activities that would be constructivist. We'll each give an example from different subject areas. I'll go first. In math, a teacher might give students a real-world problem, like planning a budget for a community event. The students would need to figure out how to get the money, calculate costs, and make decisions based on their calculations. I love that one. It's definitely authentic because it connects to something real, like a student might actually need this skill in their future career or even just in daily life. What's another example? In science, how about an experiment where students design their own investigation? Let's say they're studying plant growth. Instead of just following a set of instructions, the teacher might give them a set of materials and ask them to form a hypothesis, design their experiment, and then test it. The students are in charge of the whole process. That's a great one, and it ties back to the constructivist idea of cooperative learning too. They can collaborate with each other to share ideas and come up with the best experiment. Now for an example from history, imagine a group of students being asked to roleplay as people from different historical perspectives. They might be assigned roles like a factory worker, a factory owner, or a labor union leader during the Industrial Revolution. They'd have to argue their position based on their role, using evidence they've gathered. I like that. It's an immersive, hands-on way to learn about history rather than just reading about it in a textbook. The teacher isn't just delivering the content. They're helping the students experience it. Exactly. All three of these activities show that students are active participants in their learning, and each of them connects back to the key elements of constructivism, like scaffolding, authentic tasks, and cooperative learning. And don't forget, they also encourage students to be critical thinkers and problem solvers, which are huge goals in a constructivist classroom. Well, that's all for today's episode of Teaching Today. Thank you for tuning in as we dug into constructivism. We hope you have a clearer picture of what it looks like in action. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and stay curious.